Episode 69. It's a sexy episode. Ow! Ba-da-ba-ba. Doo-doo. Beep-beep-beep. Every time I see your face, I want to be free. Episode 69 of the Scott Gibson Show. I am Scott Gibson. Who else would I fucking be at this point talking inside your ears? As always, we should start the show by saying I hope you're safe and well. 2 million vaccinated. 2 million vaccinated in the land of Scotland. Apparently, I mean, these numbers go up and down. You know? Are you one of the lucky 2 million? Have you been vaccinated? Are you fat, mentally handicapped, or slightly disabled? You know? Because if you've got a vaccine in the black market, I don't know. What a week it's been since we last spoke. In the name of God, I've just uncovered a factoid, which I will share with all you in a short second. But how have you been? How have you been? Hope you're well. You know, hope you're alive. Trump's been acquitted. You know, I mean, the man will not. He doesn't know when he's beat. He doesn't know when he's beat. You know, just when you thought that you'd see, like, I'm just going to say this straight off the bat. I am in no way a right winger. And this is the problem with the world that we find ourselves in. If you make a statement like I'm just about to make, you have to quantify that by saying, I'm not a Nazi. That's how fucked up the world is now. I was actually thinking about this the other day. When was it? How nice would it be to be able to sit down with a stranger, and talk to somebody about anything, about a subject that you both have different viewpoints on, but actually have a discussion? How nice would that be? Instead of, as soon as someone disagrees with what would be regarded as the mainstream, and we'll also talk about that shithole in a minute, you've been branded. So let me just say this. I miss Trump. No, I don't miss him for the violence. I don't miss him for that at all. I miss him because it's boring now. There's nothing's happening. You know? And I know that a lot of people will say, well, that's the good thing, that nothing confrontational is happening, you know, but all that means is that America and global politics is gone back to normal. Everything's done behind closed doors. The rich will get rich. They grease the palms of their pals. There's pizzas getting ordered to the White House again. Everything has gone back to normal. So I do. I miss the crazy orange bastard. I miss the nonsense that he says. I don't miss, you know, the chaos that he caused. But I do. I miss my wee bit. I miss him. And I bet you there is a lot of Trump haters out there. They secretly miss my wee bit as well. But he's been acquitted. I mean, it's a fucking shock to nobody, I imagine. So, you know, Trump 2024, will he run again? Who knows? Who knows? If he gets that reality show series, El Trumpos, then, you know, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll be too busy. God knows. But from what I read online or see briefly in the news, he's I think the old man's enjoying himself down in Florida. I mean, the news is just boring now. I watched BBC News this morning because old Bojangles has said his update, you know, to say that this is the last lockdown. That's it. No more after this. I'm scared. I can't afford any more lockdowns. So when we finally are released, a part of that is us. Ironically, we have friends in New Zealand. A wonderful comic, David Carrios, who you should all check out. The missus messaged him the other day. He was at a gig, he was at a concert, and he put up a video of him in a field surrounded by thousands of people. You know, and it was like, oh God, remember those days? And she texted him saying, God, that looks amazing. You know, stay safe, hope you're well. And he messaged her back 24 hours to say, well, it was fun, but that's us going back into a lockdown. So fuck knows what's happening. God knows. I imagine, like many of you, I'm slowly going insane. I now feel as if something's happened. We've maybe rolled a 55, and we've moved down a rabbit hole of life, because life just feels like I'm desperately trying to find something good to watch on Netflix. And I suppose moves on quite nicely. I watched a documentary last night. One of those nights where the old mild insomnia kicked in. Couldn't really sleep. The old mind was going wide awake. It felt like the old days for a brief moment. I have struggled for many years with sleep patterns. Many moons ago, when I was a bouncer, or as we like to call them, front house security, that's probably the best sleep pattern I've ever had. I just think, like, not everybody's designed to do a 95. I certainly am one of those people who is not built to do a 95. And if you're one of those people who's not built to do a 95, you very quickly realize how much life, normal life, is geared up to people who are 95. So if you don't work Monday to Friday, normal office hours, the chances of you doing things with your pals are slim. You know, you're maybe working when they're off, and it becomes a kind of struggle. It almost, not that it drives a wedge, but it almost forces you to live a separate life. Stop punching this fucking mic stand. I'm going to get a new mic stand because the arm was good, but now it's getting in the way. I'm getting more gesturing with the hands, and I keep going to fucking judo chop it. So I need to go back to the old slay up and down. Anyway, side note. Aye, so if you're not a 95 person, it can be, the world can seem strange, you know. When you're awake, things are shut, people are at work, when you're, and as so forth and so on. But doing that job, that's probably the first time that I kind of fell into a good sleep pattern, and I think that's when I realised I'm not a normal working hours person. I am a night owl. And then comedy came in. It then became, that just became life, and I was working nights and weekends and whatnot, and that's just the way it is, isn't it? And again, I fitted easily into that pattern. And I don't know what point I'm trying to make here, but what I'm trying to say is last night was one of those nights where my mind was fully awake at 10 o'clock at night, and I mean fully awake, like creative mode, stuff was firing. I was like, get me a bit of paper, I've got a joke about trans people. Everything was happening, you know? And so I just gave in, and I thought, I'm not going to fight it. Did a wee bit of work on the website, and then I sat down and watched a documentary at 2:30 in the morning. And the documentary was brilliant because it was everything I wanted in a documentary. It gave me a bit of joy, a bit of sadness. It had real anger. Just punch this mic one more time. It's going to have been real anger. And that's what I look for in a documentary. I look for something that's going to get the emotional juices flowing. All of my emotional juices, you know. I don't want one tone. I don't want to be crying like a wee lassie sobbing, going, you'll never believe this, man. I don't want that. I want 1 minute, I feel sorry for somebody, I'm emotional, and then next minute I'm like, if I ever see a fucking man, that's the type I want. And I got it for this documentary. And the documentary is called, I've written it down so don't get it wrong. It is called What We Started. What We Started. And let me tell you this, what a documentary it is. Now, it is, it's probably, there's two main players in it. Martin Garrix, Kent, and Carl Cox. Now, there's obviously a couple of people in there. Paul Oakenfold is in, and Pete Tong, who I think's a fucking dick, but we'll go into that in a minute. The documentary is about DJs, dance music, the evolution of dance music, the different genres of dance music across the world, and where the state of the industry is now. Now, obviously not now. I think it was 2016, 2017. Because like many of us, you know, the old dance music or any live music is taking a fucking right good kick in the balls with COVID. That was one of the things last night as well. Watching this documentary, at one point, there's 20, 30,000 people in a field for this rave, and you're going, I mean, I don't want to be negative, but like, will we ever get back to that again? Will we ever be able to have that many people together in one place at one time? I think things like COVID are just going to be part of life now. I think, every couple of years, maybe there'll be another form of pandemic. I think it will be easier. I don't ever think it will be this bad again. Ideal scenario, maybe the new fucking Aztec flus or the Omega strand or the fucking Tesla strand comes out and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. And you only traipse along to the GP or the quarantine bus stop, or maybe by that point, people have caught on and it's a whole new industry. It's a cottage industry. people have taken over old police boxes. And instead of you getting artisan coffee, in fact, even better, you drop by one of these police boxes that are turned into some fucking TARDIS, you know, that sells £4 coffee and a cinnamon bun that's solid. Break somebody's jaw with this thing. That's what it's going to be, man. You know, you're going to have like food trucks, vibey food places, basically anywhere the hipsters hang out, right? It's trendy. You're going to be able to get like an artisanal loaf of bread and the new fucking COVID injection. That's what it's going to be, I think, in the future. All this talk of new strands and everybody else. And why is South Africa getting a strand? How are we not getting like a Glasgow strand, a Scotland strand? You know, of course. Do you hear John get that new Scotland strand, man? Oh, it knocks in your arse, mate. Knocks you on your arse. So I think that's going to be the future. You know, there'll be new strains of the virus or mutations, and you need to drop along to the GP and you get a fucking jag and you get your wee passport stamped, even though you don't, they say you don't need a passport, but apparently if you're going to have to travel anywhere else in the world, you're going to need a passport. So you're going to need a passport. So as I was watching it, I'm thinking, will we ever get back to that? Will we get that volume of people in one place for one thing, whether it be a concert, whether it be a sporting event? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe there'll be certain hoops to go through. I don't know. But the documentary is brilliant. It takes you through the rise of dance music. It talks about the death of disco. It talks about how actually very early on, which kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And I thought, right, this is actually going to be quite a good documentary because there's 3 or 4 people being interviewed who are talking about the kind of first DJs, if you like, who the move was away from live bands in nightclubs. So what they would do is they would have basically 2 turntables so they could play continuous music, so there was never a break in it, so that people were always dancing. And there was a pushback from it as well because a lot of the nightclub owners and a lot of the promoters said that nobody wants to hear someone play records. They want to see a live band. So you're talking about that time, maybe like 70s, when there's obviously there's starting to be a change within live performance and within what people are expecting on a night out, probably coinciding with a time when musicians and bands become globally famous. So whereas in a time maybe in the 60s and then maybe the early 70s, you could get bands to perform in nightclubs or in in discotheques, shall I say. They may have become more expensive, or they may have not been able to do that. They would have been touring themselves. So there's obviously a push and pull there as to what the market can give them. And then the DJs step up, they start playing 2 records at once, or sorry, they have 2 turntables so they can play records one after the other and keep the music going. Then you get DJs who have 2 copies of the one record on a twin turntable and are effectively starting to mix music live in the birth of DJ. And it talks about the different types of music coming from Chicago and different type. Detroit was another one mentioned, in different parts of America, and how the UK DJs are picking it up and playing it here. And Carl Cox is one who runs through the whole thing, basically being 54 years of age at that time, one of the oldest DJs, around from the birth of the scene in the UK, one of the most famous DJs in the world. I really don't think there's anyone who doesn't know who Carl Cox is. And it's interesting because the documentary plays him off against this Martin Garrix, who's like the new wee kid, and they talk about how he's 17 years of age and he's headlining one of the biggest dance festivals in the world, this festival that happens in Miami. And the whole thing, aside from the interesting facts about dance music, the whole thing itself is just what's the word I'm looking for, man? It is come on, Scott, are you going mental here? It's a blueprint. Fuck's sake, it is a blueprint for every creative industry in the world. Because all that happens is eventually once something gets to the point where it has bled into the mainstream, it's fucked. Now, it's fucked in in one sense and unfucked. Can you unfuck something? Not fucked on the other. A lot of the old DJs that have been interviewed in it are obviously complaining that DJs don't technically exist anymore. Very few of the new DJs are mixing. Very few of the DJs even know what a vinyl is. Very few of the young DJs know how to play a set. There's a bit in it where Carl Cox is talking about how he played a 10-hour set and he meets Martin Garrix. Martin Garrix is asking, he's like, you should play a 10-hour set, oh my God. He's like, I played 10 hours, went for like 2 piss breaks, 2 slices of pizza, 4 bottles of beer, played for 10 hours, never played the same song twice in 10 hours. And the wee guy, his mind's blown. He's like, I could never do that. And I'm watching it and I'm getting angry because I'm going, you're right, you could never do that. He could never do a 10-hour set. It reminds me of a comedian who I won't say his name because he's quite famous now. He turned up once to a nightclub, to a club, a comedy club in Glasgow, the Stand, right? He turned up to the Stand in Glasgow. And this is when I had just left my job and I was working in the Stand part-time as well as starting out in comedy. And he was booked to do a solo show as part of his tour. And what happens is when you go to the comedy clubs especially, you will always have a break, at least one break, because the club wants to get more money at the bar, right? That's just part of it. It's unwritten rule. Some people will, a lot of acts will bring a tour support for that. So they put the tour support on at the start and then they have a break and then they do the show. Some people will split up their show. Some people only do an hour. And a lot of the clubs will not be very happy with that because they want the bar break. So this act came in, this comedian came in, and I went in to meet him. And we were having a chat. We'd met a few times before, so he was quite relaxed. And I'd said, we've got you down for 2:45 minutes. Now, this is someone who has been on Live at the Apollo twice by this point, was starring in his own show, was one, and is now one of the, a big name in comedy. And I remember him saying, I don't have an hour and a half. And I thought he was joking me. No, I thought he was kidding on. I went, very good, very good. I said, so I can flash you at 40 and then, off at 45, then we'll have a break. And no more than 20 minutes back. I went, mate, I don't have 2:45 minutes. I've only got the hour. And this went back and forward. And all I kept thinking was, how can you be not only a professional comedian, but how can you be a comedian at that level where you are a household name on national television, on the biggest, at that time, the biggest comedy show in the country? This is now your second national tour. And yet you don't have, not only are you saying you don't have 90 minutes worth of material, you don't have the ability to do 2 45-minute sections. Now, just for transparency, I very rarely do I wouldn't do 2 45s either. I would always make the time work in my favour. So I'll do minimum of 30, probably 40 at the start, have a break, and then I'll do the hour. And that's the show. And I just couldn't understand how someone of that level was unable to do it. I just couldn't understand it. And as we get talking, I'm going, but you must be able to do something for the first tour because there's not everybody here will have seen that because it's in a different venue. So, do 10, 15. And I can see it now in my head. I'm sitting in the room going, I don't understand how I'm having to explain this to you. I said, do 15 minutes of banter, to which the response was, well, I can't do crowd work. I'm going, what is happening here? Do 15 minutes of banter and do 25 minutes, half an hour of the old show, and then come out and do the new hour. So this ended up, it wasn't happening. I had left. There was phone calls to agents, to management, and we ended up agreeing on a half hour and a half hour until the hour was split in two. And it was one of the strangest nights ever because it was the audience was only just getting into it. As we had a break and then they came back in for another half hour. A very strange night. And that's what I was thinking about when I was watching this, to go like one of the, well, at that time, Martin Garrix is voted the #1 DJ in the world, which is fucking ridiculous. So you have got, apparently, according to the industry, the #1 DJ in the world talking to one of the greatest DJs that's ever existed. and he's explaining to him that there's no way in hell he could do a 10-hour set. As it went on, I'm just going, the contrasts from every creative art form is staggering. So as dance music, I suppose we'll go back to that, as dance music starts to become more mainstream into the 90s and certainly into the noughties, you find more and more that it's changing and it's moving away from its roots, as these things do. When they become mainstream, they become diluted and they become more packageable and more sellable, if you like, to a larger audience. You start to see a rise of these new DJs like Martin Garrix, Skrillex, Steve Aoki, Avicii, people like that who are more geared towards pop music. David Guetta, that fucking toilet. And the argument that kind of runs through the documentary is that these DJs are no longer DJs. Probably the best name for them is producers, because they're not actually making their own. Well, they're making their own music, but they're not mixing it live. There's a part in it which, interestingly, he's not in the documentary being interviewed. It's only a quote from him. That fucking nugget, Deadmouse, whatever his name is. He has a quote in it from a magazine interview that he did where he says he simply turns up, plugs in his USB and hits play. And he says the audience don't know what's happening. They're just there for a good time. And one thing he says is he still considers himself a DJ. Being a DJ doesn't mean you have to produce magic on the night. It means you have to produce magic in the studio. And I'm going, well, that for me then would just make you a producer. That doesn't make you a DJ. You know, I would say the fundamental basics of DJing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you should be able to mix music. And if you can't mix music, then I would say you're a producer. If you're creating your own tracks. It's an odd one to even consider and discuss, but it's a great documentary. You should try and watch it. What's it called again? What We Started. One thing you see is when I talk about Carl Cox as well, he's doing his last night in Ibiza, and it was quite sad. It was quite emotional at the end, and you could really feel the emotion in the man as you're watching it. To go, this has been such a huge part of his life. He's been a resident DJ in Space, I think it is, in Ibiza for 15 years. No other DJ's ever done a residency that long. No other DJ will ever do a residency that long, I imagine. And it's now coming to an end. And obviously speaks a little bit about his family and the documentary and his sisters there. And it's quite an emotional wee part of it when you see him just kind of walk off and you're thinking what must have been going through his head at the time. But the contrast from that now to other industries where you think like, it's not really, it's never, when it gets to a certain level, it's never about the talent, you know, it's about how they can market you. And I imagine a 17-year-old at that time, handsome looking, Justin Bieber looking wee Dutch boy is far more marketable than a 54-year-old fat DJ called Carl Cox. I imagine that is far more marketable. Nobody would be interested that Carl Cox would be a far greater DJ with a history in the industry, a history in the art, and be able to talk about some of the incredible people who have gone before. It doesn't matter because this wee guy's 17. Teenage girls are going to come out screaming. I can stick him in the front of magazines. I'll sell magazines. So it's one of those things where, like I said, bittersweet, I suppose, and real joyous and real angry at the same time. But a great documentary, man. And if you're looking for something to watch, because there is a hell of a lot of shit out there, give it a watch. One thing I'll say, and a very, very interesting part in the documentary is they do. Carl Cox is talking about, I think it's Love Festival in Berlin. And they talk about how it first started and there was like 250 people. They're effectively driving trucks through the centre of Berlin till they get to this park, and then they finish the festival in this park. And the footage you're seeing is from 3 or 4 years down the line, and there's just a sea of people in the street. And they're talking about this year when they did it, and they said there was over 1 million people in the streets of Berlin for the festival. And the thing that caught me the most is at the point when Carl Cox is climbing up to the platform. So they build a platform in the center of this. It's effectively a kind of park in Berlin, and there's like a cross junction roads, and they've got a monument, and they've built this tower in the monument so that when you're on the tower, you're looking straight down the mall effectively, and there's just a sea of people, and there's a sea of people to either side, right? If you imagine a T junction. Now, the interesting thing, and I only know this from another documentary I was watching, that part of Berlin where they are, that was intended to be Hitler's masterpiece, if you like. At the height of the Third Reich, that mile, that run of road through that park, that was going to be the main road to Hitler's headquarters, I suppose you want to call it that. Effectively, they wanted to build a citadel for the Nazi Party, and it was going to be designed on ancient Rome. All along that mile would have been all the government buildings for the Nazi Party, and it would have finished at the end of that mile with a huge ancient Rome type building, which would have housed the headquarters of the Nazi Party and a massive amphitheater as well. And that was the plan. That was what Hitler wanted to do. And then obviously the war didn't go the way they thought, and funds were cut back and funds were put into the war effort. And so the building or the construction of what would have been Hitler's masterpiece was stopped. And as I'm watching that documentary of literally 1 million people of every nationality you can imagine, every colour, every sexual orientation, every sexuality, together dancing in this part of Berlin, which would have been unrecognisable had Germany won the war. There was something about that was quite special as well. Never mentioned in the documentary, because why would they mention it? I suppose they wouldn't even consider that at the time. But there was something in that moment as I was watching it, I thought, what a moment in history this would have been, a sliding door moment where if things had gone differently, 40 years earlier, that not only would that not have happened, who knows if that music would have even existed. I don't know, maybe that's taken a bit too far, Gibble, but wonderful documentary, What We Started. Get it watched, get it on Netflix. You will thoroughly enjoy it. Right, something I wanted to talk to you about was a question came up on the Sunday service from the rascal, the legend Douglas Anderson. Shout out to Douglas. Douglas had asked on the Sunday service podcast, which I hope you're all part of now. The numbers would suggest you're not, but if you enjoy the show and you want to access the extra content and get access to the Sunday service, which is the Patreon only episodes that go out, believe it or not, every Sunday, hence the name, then join the Patreon. Patreon.com/Big Scott Gibson, patreon.com/Big Scott Gibson. Head to bigscottgibson.com and all the links are on there. But do that. But Douglas had asked a question on the Patreon episodes, and he was talking about crisps, and he had asked if we knew or if we realised that every packet of crisps goes out a day and a Saturday. And I thought, this can't be right. It can't be right. Turns out it fucking is right. Doogie boy, Douglas Anderson, has gone away and checked. He's checked his own crisp supply, possibly ransacked a local supermarché. I didn't ask. I mean, we're all one step away from madness now. Imagine getting escorted home with the post. What has he done now? He was going through the crisp aisle in Morrison's hand, checking the expiry dates. Turns out that, I certainly never knew this. Douglas has unearthed a conspiracy theory, but it turns out he's true. It's right. It's real. It's bloody right. And I've even got an article here. The Crisp Company. Now, I don't know who the Crisp Company is. This is an old article. It's actually from the Coventry Telegraph. Believe it or not, I never even knew that the Coventry had a telegraph, or that people from Coventry had the ability to read words. But the Coventry Telegraph explains that in the manufacturing sites where they make the crisps, they work on production weeks, not production days. So a production day in the factory where they make crisps starts on a Sunday, which means all products will expire the following week, which ends on a Saturday. Oh my God. All products produced in that week will have the same best before date. As the week ends on a Saturday, the best before date will always be a Saturday. I can't believe I'm 36 years of age and I never knew this. I'm genuinely shocked. I can't be the only person though who didn't know this. Crisps always go out of date on a Saturday. Fact. That's the name of an old Facebook page. Anyway, but how true is the statement? Nobody ever really checks the expiry date on the crisps, do they? I never do. And why would they? After all, crisps never last long. Recovered exactly. This is from the Coventry Telegraph article. Some eagle-eyed savoury snack lovers know only too well that these crisps go out of date on a Saturday. The answer has been bothering many people. It's even listed in the FAQ section of the Walker's website. Fucking hell. All products produced in the week have the same best before date. As the weekends and Saturday, the best before date will always, as the week ends on the Saturday, the best before date will always end on the Saturday. So there you go. So every single packet of crisps that is produced in the UK, if not the world, the globe, will always go out of date on a Saturday. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Douglas Anderson, thank you. Not only thank you for the question, Douglas, but thank you for following up with some hard-hitting evidence of your own. And it turns out that's true. And if you've got a bag of crisps that Disney go expire on a Saturday, then it's fake news, mate. Stick up your arse. It's not a real bag of crisps. Not interested. We only want the real. We want British crisp for British people. If my crisps don't expire on a Saturday, say foreign fucking lays. Get the fuck. But Douglas, thank you, mate, and enjoy. Happy munching on your crisps. Make sure you do them before Saturday. Otherwise, it may be a little soft in the tooth. I've seen a few videos this week of my beloved Amsterdam. One day we'll fly away. I'll be back soon. Yeah. Once bloody COVID's over. But I saw some wonderful footage of Amsterdam, Amsterdonians, Amsterdites, Amsterdamdanans. You may have seen it as well with the recent cold snap, which now has fully gone in Old Reekie. I don't know which part of the country you are listening to this, part of the globe even, but here in Edinburgh, the nation's capital, it's positively tropical. Roasting is the correct Scottish vernacular. So hot, out this afternoon in the dug walk, jumper and a jacket, sweat was dripping into the crack of my arse. That's the weather. That's the weather report. That's the weather report that people need. If you were to go on a brisk 20-minute afternoon walk with an extra layer, would the sweat be dripping in the crack of your ass? And by golly gosh, it was. So the cold weather's gone. Snow's almost over. My neighbours have been quite creative with the snow offering designs, monuments, the snowmen. In the last couple of days, we've had 3 snowmen, 3.5. One was quite small. I don't know if it was a dwarf man or if it was just a small child that made it. I don't know. But 3.5 snowmen. And then out of nowhere, we came out one morning and somebody built an igloo. Believe it or not, it looks as if they've packed snow into a takeaway tub to make the bricks, which is genius when you think about it. And they built a wee igloo on the end of the wall in the courtyard. And it looked nice. And then next day, they put fairy lights in it, which was weird. And each night, the fairy lights change colour. Not like fancy ones. Literally, they put a different set of fairy lights in it each night. And then on the final night, as if they knew the snow was going to leave us, they actually put a Yankee candle inside the igloo, which I thought was mental. I genuinely thought it was mental. I mean, it's 14 quid for a Yankee candle. Fuck me. Are these bastards made of money? Can you imagine turning around to your mother? Mum, I need a Yankee candle. What for? To put in my igloo. Get to fuck yeah. You're not a hope in hell. If your mother had come into your garden and found one of her £14 Yankee candles being used to light an igloo, in the name of God, they'd never have found your body. But these fuckers were using it to light the igloo, and then obviously it melted and bloated in itself. But today, snow's gone. One of the snowmen, he's quite a rotund gent. A wee bit of the belly's left. It's taken a dive off the wall, but that's all that remains. The rest of it gone. But Amsterdanies, you will have seen, no doubt, the pictures of the frozen canals of Amsterdam. I have posted up some videos on Instagram on the stories of people ice skating in the canals. Very beautiful. Some people have put music to it. It's lovely, you know. I could not imagine the joy of waking up on a cold, crisp Amsterdam morning, opening up the door, overlooking the canals to see some, you know, lovely young people figure skating on the ice. I would have thought, in the name of God, I'm living in a fairy tale. And it's obviously not long until the buffoonery starts. And you may have seen the video of the guy who is skating and then falls into the ice. Now, you might have watched that video and thought, in the name of God, the man's going to die. Let me say this to you. Falling through the ice while you are ice skating into a frozen canal would be the least of your worries if the canal is in Amsterdam, because that canal is full of piss and shit. And he goes, I mean, he's got at some speed. You can see the color of the ice. It looks a bit darker as well. Now, to the untrained eye, you might be thinking that's a very thick bit of ice, but it's a very thin bit of ice because the water's so minging under it, and he just disappears through the ice. It's great because he's got no chance of stopping it, no chance of making himself big, diving onto another bit of ice. No, he just comes around and just fucking disappears out of the water. There's no way that he is not consuming some of that water. And I mean, my God, forget COVID. Maybe that's the fucking solution. Maybe if you are baptized in the piss and shit canals of Amsterdam, you are immune to all known virus and any future virus. Maybe we need to test this guy. But I can guarantee you, as soon as he hit that water, no concerns over if he was going to get hypothermia or anything. There may have been people watching for the side going, oh my God, that boy will catch his death. If anybody knows the canals, I'm watching that, and as soon as he went in the water, he's dead. He's dead. No, he's not dead instantly. No. He is dead in a few months. A few months' time, that man will die in his sleep. And it will not be if he COVID. It will not be if he's some rare virus. It'll be because he's consumed shitty canal water. And that's it. They'll do tests on him. They'll do biopsies. No doctor, no surgeon will be able to explain to his family how he's died until that video is presented to the Surgeon General. And he went, oh, he's drank fucking pissy shit canal water. No water, man. I'm surprised it lasted 4 months. There's a bit when he's swimming to try and get up and he's just scrambling. And you know in his head he's like, you're fucked, man. You're fucked. Every bit of clothing you're wearing must be set fire to. Those ice skates, set fire to them. You need to get your stomach pumped. You need to get a tetanus jag on every limb of your body. Disgusting, man. Disgusting. But if you've not seen, check out. It must be. There was one when it was a young woman, and she's figure skating, and she's brilliant, so she must be a figure skater. And it's obviously a part where one of the canals starts to widen out a wee bit because she's got a fair size of canal to play with, put it that way. And I'm watching this video, and it's the one they put a bit of music to it, and I'm going, it's just magical, man. Like, it's just magical. Like, if you were to wake up, open your veranda doors with a coffee and a fucking cigar, and just see that, you'd think, where the fuck am I living? You know, and two different people. Some people will watch that and go, God, I wish I could figure skate like that. I'm going, no, that never enters my head. I'm going, I just wish that I would love to just open a door and just be able to wake up to that every morning. You know, there's Joe. Morning, John. She goes into a triple axel. Watch the shitty. Oh, she's falling through the water. She's falling through the water. Good old Amsterdam, man. One day, we'll open a veranda door into a wee Juliet balcony, spark up a fucking big Cuban cigar, and drink a wee piccolo coffee. You know, as we look out over Amsterdam, they'll go, "We've made it, son. We've made it." If you are going ice skating or figure skating or skating of any kind on what little ice remains, please be careful. Please be careful. I saw two news stories that were dealing with the exact same thing, but presented in completely opposites from each other, which perfectly sums up the way the BBC now operates. Like I said earlier, I put BBC Breakfast on this morning to try and get a wee update for Bojangles because I missed it yesterday. And BBC News now, especially in the morning, it's just become it's like points of view. It's just a place for people to moan. There's no news anymore. There's no facts. Nothing is discussed in depth. It seems to be a forum for people to come on and complain. That is the fucking news. You know, I want facts. I want debate, discussion. I don't want somebody on just moaning about fucking something. The guy on the day, they found a fossil or some shit. I wasn't watching. I don't really care. If everything is going on, finding some prehistoric fish that it's not even on the list, couldn't give a fuck. But the BBC choose to put it on. Now, the BBC this morning made a very big mistake of having someone on who is an expert on these fossils and having someone on who's not only an expert, very passionate about the thing they're talking about. So BBC News, especially in the morning, they want 90 seconds in and out. Your papa's dead, 90 seconds in and out. Your farmer's got COVID, 90 seconds in and out. You know, the economy's fucked, 90 seconds in and out. They don't want any discussion. They don't want it to raise above a certain level. Let's keep it bland. Let's keep it at a 4. Let's keep it calm and let's keep moving. All right. And then this guy starts pulling back and going, "Hey, you've shown the wrong video. That's a lot of shit you're talking. Here's what's going on. Let me tell you this." But the news story that I saw was people who are in the quarantine hotels. Now, this first story was from a hotel in Sydney. And it was 3 British people who are in quarantine in a hotel in Sydney. And the other news story, also about quarantine hotel, was an Asian family who were in a quarantine hotel in Glasgow for 1 day. And let's just deal with the Glasgow one first, because it was classic casual racism from the BBC, where it's trying to incite some kind of anger and extreme violence in you. That why the hell are they only getting stayed in for a night? What happened was a father and his daughter quarantined for 1 night in a hotel because there'd been a miscommunication and understanding of the rules. They had actually flown from a country where you had to be quarantined, but they came through a connecting flight in Dublin. So because doing that, they don't have to quarantine when they get to Scotland. There was a problem. They were in for 1 night. The problem was addressed and they were sent home to Fife, where I imagine the father will marry his daughter in a beautiful ceremony. But nonetheless, there was a mistake and that was it. But it's put across from the BBC as somehow they've cheated the system and people aren't really taking this serious. And then it cuts to this other story of the 3 Brits who are quarantined in Sydney. Now, I don't know if the story was meant for me to be have empathy for them. I don't know if I was meant to feel sorry for these people. Look at them being quarantined in the hotel. I'm telling you right now, I couldn't give a flying fuck about the 3 of them. In fact, for wasting 5 minutes of my day, I hope they get the runs. These 3 fuckers, right, one of whom, an older lady, has been staying in Spain for 8 years. So you can guess her type of character. She was now coming back to the UK to live for some reason, going, I just think with everything that's happening, it's time to come home. Well, we don't know if we want you back, but on you come. So she's moaning about the quarantine. Another man, a businessman who oddly lives in Sydney, is also quarantined in the hotel because where he's came from. And you look at these people going, they're complaining about the food, first of all. Let's start. They're getting 3 meals a day, right? They're getting 3 meals a day. And they're in a hotel, and it's a fucking good hotel. It's overlooking the Sydney Harbour, right? It's a nice hotel. One of them's in a suite. It's a good hotel, right? And the hotel, I'm watching this, I'm going, they're getting fed. They've got space to move about. They've got every fucking mod con you can want, Wi-Fi. They've all got their laptops and devices. They've got Netflix and the telly. They're there for, all right, they're there for 21 days, right? But they're in luxury. Then I find out the guy who actually lives in Sydney, his wife is allowed to visit the hotel. What is the fucking point in that? They're sitting separated having a conversation. So what's the point in them being quarantined? And then she brings him treats every day. She's walking up to the hotel going, he just really likes his fancy coffee, and I just bring him a coffee and a cake. Just little things like that help him remember what normal life is. He's in a fucking 5-star hotel. He's not in a jail. He's not in a prison. They're in a 5-star luxury hotel in Sydney. What is going on, man? Is this how much we're struggling for news now? Everybody's going to be in a quarantine hotel. I tell you what will be worse than that. I tell you what will be worse than a fucking 5-star hotel quarantined in Sydney overlooking the harbour as your wife brings you fancy cakes and coffees every day would be quarantined in a Best Western in Heathrow in the fucking middle of nowhere. A wee rap at the door. Rat-a-tat-tat. Oh, that must be lunch. I wonder what delicacies we've got today. Ah, a jobby piece and a sock. Delicious. The woman at one point, she opens the door and she went, that'll be lunch. And she brings her food in and she's sitting talking about it. Right? She's talking about her food and going, I mean, you know, it's okay. Sometimes it does feel a bit like prison. A bit like prison. It feels a bit like prison. What the fuck are you talking about? It's amazing. Mind-blowing sometimes. That when people are forced into what they consider a little bit of hardship, which isn't really hardship. Because the mistake that the BBC's made is that each of these people is a middle-class fucking Tory voting minted bastard. And it's amazing when they have to take one step down the ladder. And suddenly it's just very difficult, you know. I've not been able to get whole coffee beans for almost 2 days now, and I keep having to drink instant coffee, and I'm struggling, but I don't know how much more I can take. You know, I really just need to get home. It's like a prison, you know, it's like prison. Shut the fuck up, Sandra. Imagine the people watching that. Imagine sitting down and watching that going, fuck it, let's put the news on. And you've just come back for the food bank. Just come back for food bank, unpacking messages because you can't afford to feed yourself, your family. And you've got some fucking dick on there going, as long as my wife can bring me a fancy coffee, it'll still feel like normal. Fucking hell. Oh, man. Honestly, I'm trying very hard not to keep talking about COVID on the podcast, but I just think eventually, man, there's going to have to be a shift because everyone's going to settle again. And a lot of people now who haven't maybe been affected by it financially or any other ways, it's going to catch up to us, man. It's going to hit all of us eventually. And then we're going to see a bit of a shift. Because as the haves move further away from the have-nots, there's only so long, man, before it boils over, you know? Only so long before people storm that hotel and kick the door in. Go. It feels like prison now, doesn't it? Is he getting dragged in the hall, clawing at the carpet? Ah, please. No. Game over. Game over. But yes, it was, I just couldn't understand the point of the story at all. I'm just watching it going, I couldn't give a fuck about you idiots. I generally couldn't. We're all past that now. Sort of thing. Are they saying 302 days in lockdown? It feels more than that. And if we have to feel sorry for people who are travelling from other parts of the world to come back to their second home in the UK via a 3-week stay in a 5-star hotel in Sydney, you have fucking missed the mark with that one, BBC. You fucking missed the mark with that one. Right, let's finish up this episode with a little news story, shall we? Let's get it up here. That's not the right thing. That's not the right thing. This is it here. Back to the BBC. Back to the BBC. Fuck the BBC. Back to the Metro. The good old Metro. Journalism at its very best. Jen Mills, a name we have spoken about before in the podcast. So we're going back to Jen for another hard-hitting piece of journalism. And the headline for this one is a beauty, as all of them are in the Metro. They never let us down. Headline is as follows: escaped cow charges into hospital waiting room and attacks patients. Now, as always, I have not read the story. We will discover this together. I do not know if the cow is a reincarnation. I don't know if this was a patient who died at the hands of a negligent surgeon, reincarnated as a cow, waited until he or she was a fully grown cow, and then charged the hospital. I don't know. I don't know if the hospital was in India, a part of the world where cows are sacred. They can do what they want. They can sleep in the street. They can get to Primark. They can storm a hospital. I do not know. But I do know from the pictures and the headline, it looks juicy. Because let me just say this, the cow is a fucking beauty. There is also a picture. There's a picture in the article of what looks like a waiting area, a waiting room. If you imagine just a room, a corridor down at the end of the room, and then a door where you gain access to the waiting room. 3 chairs down either side of the wall, and from the picture it looks like there's three people sitting in the waiting room, maybe waiting to be called to see a consultant. You know, maybe a delicate procedure. I mean, let's not say life or death. Let's keep it light. But maybe they're waiting there to go and get a bunion frozen off their toe. And, you know, you're just sitting there waiting, casually minding your own business, looking at the leaflets on offer, give up smoking, erectile dysfunction, obesity, the usual things you see in a hospital waiting room. And then all of a sudden, a heifer sticks his head through the door and charges into the room. And the picture that's on this, is beautiful. One guy's off. He's off. You know, he's been in a situation before where a cow has stormed into a room. Doesn't end well. It doesn't end with everybody having a beautiful filet mignon steak. It ends with some cunt taking a cow's foot to the pus. He's off. The other guy looks as if, is that a cow? It is a cow, and you better get moving. So let's read on. First line, an escaped cow. What? Escaped from where? A slaughterhouse? Let's hope so. Let's hope. Listen, see if I was a cow and I escaped from a slaughterhouse, I'm going to hospital. I'm doing some slaughtering on my own. I'm like, you're going to fucking lead me to my death. Well, guess what, cunt? I'm going to take some people down with me. An escaped cow ran inside the hospital and attacked patients with a knife. Who knows? Knocked over chairs. In the name of God, attacking patients, I can accept. Knocking over chairs. Should be ashamed of yourself. And caused general panic. Just general panic. General panic was caused. Not high panic. Not hysteria. General panic. CCTV from the waiting room shows the animal got inside and started running around like a bull in a china shop. Very much like a bull in a china shop. Bull in a china shop. A group of people inside ran for a corner for safety, but were followed by the cow that then slammed into them. Jesus Christ. In the video, there's a video. Oh, I need to find the video. In the video, the cow falls several times, allowing some patients to escape. Oh, I don't want the cow to hurt itself, but leaves an injured woman trapped on the floor as 2 men manage to grab the animal's lead and pull it away. However, it charges the woman again. Something's going on with this woman, man. Listen, see if a cow escapes, breaks into a hospital, finds the room that you're waiting in, charges you against a wall, then smashes you to a floor, then leaves you on the floor, and then turns and charges you again while there is 2 other options in the room for it to attack. You've done something to that cow. However, it charges the woman again as the man falls and tries to coax it back before the cow is finally seen exiting the hospital and the woman looks for help. The bizarre incident occurred in Colombia. Colombia's hospital, San Rafael, in the municipality of San Luis in the department of Antigua. Second video shows the incident from outside the medical center where a group of people clap and whistle as the cow but flee as soon as it exits. Local newspaper Vanguardia said nobody was seriously injured in the incident as the trampled woman was treated for minor concussions and pain, while the rest of the patients did not seek treatment because they're hard as nails. The old cow also damaged 2 motorcycles as the hospital's entrance and some chairs in the waiting room. Van der Geer said the cow's owner went to the hospital to apologise. Oh. See when you read news stories from, like, I don't want to say third world countries, but other parts of the world, do you ever just think it'd be a simpler way of life? You know? Imagine coming in for school, coming in for work. Where's Dad gone? He's got up to the hospital, apologise. Betsy escaped again and attacked a woman in the hospital. Oh, for fuck's sake. Imagine having to go to your local hospital to apologise that your escaped cow caused havoc. General panic. General panic. It just feels like a simpler world, you know? Just a simpler place to live. The cow's owner went to the hospital to apologise for the incident and asked about the woman's health as well as the material damage, but it's unclear if he plans to pay for it. And of course he's not going to. He's got a fucking escaped cow, for God's sake. There have been no reports to the police on opening an investigation. The local police now consider the matter closed. No comments as to whether or not the cow is alive, but I hope that she's safe and well. I hope that the farmer didn't take it out on her and go mental. But I still maintain that if the cow went for that woman twice, if not thrice, something's going on there. And if any police investigations are getting done, they should ask that woman as to why on earth the cow would seek her out and attack her 3 times in the hospital. There you go. Another episode. Another mad news story. And that's us done. Team, thank you for listening once again. Episode 69 of the Scott Gibson Show. If you enjoy the podcast, please do leave us a wee review. Get on iTunes, leave it a 5-star review. Share it on your social media pages. Encourage people to listen. Let's grow the numbers. And however you get your podcast, make sure you do subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and you'll get the podcast every single Wednesday as it drops. That's it for now. So in the meantime, stay safe. Look after yourselves. Wash your hands and your arsehole. And I'll hopefully see you on a battlefield very soon.